is that we were collecting names that could be possible donors. So anybody that can think of anybody that they'd like to pass their name to me or to Steve, we love them by email because we're beginning to amass a list, and we're going to need a lot of names at all levels. And there will be, you know, a very major donor push, and then there'll be a very large community request. And we hope everybody will be included and feel as part of this and, you know, get excited about the project. So that's my request as a public member.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing as we have none, we're going to close the public comment session and bring up the minutes from May 12th for approval. Comments or discussions on the minutes? And a second? Thank you. Phil, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain. No. Thank you. The next, now we're on a regular agenda, and Mike is going to give us an update and discussion around the project manager, which process, and also the schedule, which I'm hoping is the whole schedule, not just the project manager schedule, but if not, we can do that under something else.
Okay.
Thank you.
So not much more to add other than what was in the staff report, but you know, some dates to keep in mind is the RFPs are due at 4 o'clock on June 18th, which is next Wednesday. So one of the things that we want to do today is to decide on the evaluation, and who's going to be part of the evaluation and who's going to be part of the interview, and also to identify a specific date for that interview.
The dates that you had suggested, I know I can't make, but Clive and Rose can both make the ones that were in. Was there one in the RFP, or somehow we got a hold of a date? I don't know if Gordon, David,
I have some confusion on
No,
that.
there were 2 dates.
Yes.
They were holding the 16th and the 18th open.
we were going to do that. Those were the original ones, and then,
But then
we got word they got moved.
Yeah, you
Back a
the
week.
staff moved the RFP to give it a little more time, so.
Right. And then there was like a week later or
Yeah,
something.
it's like the 23rd, 24th, 25th, somewhere in there, I believe.
That's the interview time?
Those were the potential days, trying to select 2 different days. It was either 23rd, 24th, 25th.
Right, but you know, keeping in mind that that only allows, well, I really don't know that the 23rd, 24th, 25th, how viable they are. This is why. The proposals will be submitted on the 18th, which is a Wednesday. So the committee needs ample time to review the proposals and shortlist, assuming we're going to get, you know, hopefully 8 to 10 proposals, and whether or not, you know, whoever's on the committee wants to interview 8 to 10 or shortlist down to, you know, 3 or 4 firms. And then we need to notify those firms and give them at least a few days to prepare for the interview. So looking at the calendar, the days that I identified as potential dates is either the 27th of June, which is a Friday, or the 30th of June, which is a Monday.
Those are both before July 4th. Do you think you're going to get pushback from these firms that some of their principals might be on vacation?
Well, we could, however, what's driving those dates is we want to get this on the July
Yes.
council agenda, which is on the 16th, which means that the final staff report needs to be completed by the 9th. And in order to allow the city attorney ample time to review the agreement, because this is going to be a significant, you know, pretty significant agreement, you know, he needs at least 10 days prior to the council meeting. So that means, what all that means is that a contract needs to be negotiated with the successful firm prior to the July holidays.
Good luck.
It's possible.
Exactly, and it's a very tight schedule, but in order to make the 16th council meeting, that's the schedule that we need.
And you can't do it, I won't speak for the people who might be able to attend, because I'm away that week and the following. But you can't do it earlier in that week of the 23rd? Just to give you guys more time.
Are we? I mean, just,
Could it depend on the number of applicants?
It
Like,
could.
I hate to,
I mean-
just leave this up in the air, but say we only get 3.
We still want to interview them.
No, I'm not saying we
Yeah.
don't, but if we have 3 to go through and get ready, it can go faster than if we have 10.
Well, what I would suggest is that, so the proposals are due on the 18th. On the 19th, we send an email out to every single person who submitted a proposal, letting them know what date the interview is. Not saying that they're gonna be invited, but letting them know that the interview's gonna be on a date certain, and that, if they're shortlisted, they will be invited to attend. So at least then, as soon as possible, we're letting everyone who proposed know that, hey, in about a week, they're gonna be interviewing. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be one of them, but I know that they're gonna be interviewing in a week.
so if
But
we,
Mike, but on the other hand, the council is pretty fully aware that this is an important situation to get this rolling. So it could be they could have a special meeting sometime after the 16th, anytime, to get this accomplished. Could happen.
Yeah, that's gonna be the.
George is looking at you like, oh, really?
It might be tough in July.
No, wait,
Let's just stay focused for a
do
second.
you have study sessions?
July and August, we don't have
Yeah,
that.
so-
But there's no reason they can't be ready for the 16th.
But right now, we're speculating.
I know,
I
we're
think
not
we
gonna
should
know
They
move-
can be ready for the 16th.
We should move as quickly as we
Yeah.
can. You should schedule it as quickly as you can after the applications come in, and we'll
What's the
push
best
it
way-
forward. And if
so-
we have to do something special, we'll do something special, but we should just not waste time speculating.
And before you do that, maybe you should back up, Mr. Chair, and determine who's gonna be doing the interviews.
Well, what was intended was that the subcommittee was gonna do it, and that's why we worked with Gordon, and we come up with a schedule where all 3 of us could make it. And
Okay.
that got changed,
Because of the.
After our-
Right.
it got changed. And so, we heard a date that was earlier in that week, it was 23rd and 24th, or 24th and 25th, I don't remember exactly, Clyde probably does. And I know Rose and Clyde could attend, and then what we were gonna do is see who else, we get a 3rd person out of this group to go and also be there, so that there are 3 people from this group present for the
Doing the
interviews.
interviews, only 3.
But Mike, isn't
Have a
some
project
staff
manager, you
doing
think we
this
should have? I mean, just to keep
Who's
it,
the interview partner?
So, yeah, the advice is to keep it, we're open to only committee members, because otherwise it's gonna be under the ground. So then things are gonna have to get noticed, and that just means slowing things down. It's gonna have to be a public meeting, which isn't a big deal, but, so the advice is to keep it 3 maximum. And then Gordon is gonna be on the interview panel, and then we are trying to get one other person from another agency, high-level, large agency that has done a lot of these types of public projects and has probably a lot of experience with maybe a lot of the people that are proposing for this particular project. So we're working on that as well.
What are you thinking there, the county agency?
No, actually, it's someone at the city of San Jose, a deputy director level of the city of San Jose, who's done a lot of these, very well aware of the different, very variety of consultants.
right, so the first question, let me try to take this back a little bit. Who would be interested in doing it if your schedule permits? Who would be interested in being the 3rd person? And if we have more, then we can always say, how do we make it so everyone's comfortable with who's on it?
so what you're saying is, at this point, you're not available.
Completely unavailable.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure,
We
100%
have-
sure.
And Rose and I are both volunteers, so we're looking for a 3rd person.
We're looking for a 3rd, but Phil opened up, yeah, I that's what I was hoping. I was hoping you were gonna step up.
But you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, you hear the council.
Yeah.
So
Are you, Paul,
I'm available.
do you strongly desire to do it if Phil, the question is, are we good with Phil and Rose and Clive, or do you feel strongly you want to be a part of it?
No, I think that's a good group, but I mean, if you need me to fill a spot, I'll jump in.
If Rose can't do it, then you're an
Yeah,
alternate.
sure.
So that's, so what I would ask you, Mike, is let's schedule it with those, try to schedule with Clive, Rose, and Phil, and if one of them can't make it, Paul's the alternate. And we would encourage you to get it down the week of the, earlier, if you can, the week of the 23rd, just to give yourself a
There's no
little
reason
bit.
why we couldn't at least get the materials on the 19th or the 20th.
Oh, yeah, we would definitely get the committee members some materials on the 19th.
Okay.
And Clive, why don't you be the chair of that
Okay.
process? Why don't you,
Yeah.
for the three, coordinating who are the three, and, if Roe's gonna do it or not, and you'll be the facilitator of that, is that right?
That sounds fine.
Great, and you work with Mike to nail down the date. and-
Well, since
Okay.
a couple of you are here today, is Bill gonna be on the committee as well?
Phil's on for sure.
Okay.
The only question is Roe's gonna do it, if not, then Paul will do it.
Okay.
But this all assumes they can do the date that you wanna do, Mike, so
Okay,
that's,
well, for Phil and Clive, would both of you be available on Thursday, July 24th?
July,
Or
June 24th.
Sorry.
Don't make the next month go by.
Okay, so
Planning commission that night.
you talked about,
Actually, it's,
I think.
yeah, I got some.
No, Wednesday, the 23rd, right?
No.
No, no, I'm talking about the planning commission.
25th.
It's actually Thursday, June 26th.
Okay, that's, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, whatever.
Thursday's fine.
okay, and then Clive, you'll check with Rose and
Yeah.
Paul that, okay, thank you.
In terms of reviewing the submissions, let's say you get 8 to 10. That's a pretty large file. How would you propose to distribute that?
You know what, I can't remember how we asked people to submit it, but it's a small enough group. I guess what I would propose is that we send everyone for copies.
Yeah, or I mean,
Because
we can certainly pick them up at the city hall.
Yeah, and again, I can't remember who required them to send them electronically. If they send them electronically, we can send them all to electronically.
So if we set a date such as Thursday, June 26th, would it make sense, or might it even be a consideration to the applicant to put that date on the application instead of waiting to notify them? Because didn't you say we wait till we get the applications on the 18th and the 19th, tell them the 26th? But if we know it's going to be the 26th, it might help them to,
Get in the locks, get ready to go.
right, to prepare and at least set the schedule so that we don't encounter any delays.
Yeah, at this point, we don't know who's going to propose. But
Yeah,
we-
it's-
but-
Put it on the application, so
It's already
whoever's
gone out.
applying know that that date
It's
is.
already gone out, hasn't it?
Yeah, it is, but what we can do.
Oh, I see, okay.
What we can do is we can post something on the account's website
Yeah.
indicating that we will conduct interviews on Thursday. Okay, but we want to wait to make sure we're open. So I'm going to wait to hear back from you, Clive.
Paul, you can make it, right?
Yeah, Thursday the
Yeah, so
26th.
I would name, that's the date, and if Rose can't make it, Paul's gonna do it.
Well, how many people can you interview in one day? Say we're lucky,
10.
we have 10. We can interview all 10?
Well, I don't know.
No.
That's,
You-
I would not recommend
You'll-
doing
No.
that.
Well, what would you think per interview? 30 minutes?
No, I think you want to budget yourself
45.
maybe an hour.
Yeah,
So you can interview,
You can do 5,
in and out.
Yeah.
talk, yeah. So, but to answer your question, I think that the interviews can be done in one
One
day.
day? Okay. that was
And
my-
at the end of that day, the selection committee can have a determination of the top ranked, who we will then notify and begin negotiations.
And how are we going to evaluate these people? Here we go again.
Where's the matrix?
Yes, Phil?
Mhm.
Well,
We have the criteria that we told them would be judging them on, right?
yes, that was included in the RFP.
Did we have like percentages that were weighting?
Is there weighting? Yeah.
One thing to
Yes.
keep in mind on this is this person is different than hiring an architect in that they're really leverage for the town staff.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
So we're really counting on George and Gordon and Mike.
Mhm.
And this person is arms and legs for them. So it's kind of an internal hire. So I think we want to be aware. The question is, are we filling out the blanks, or are they? And then we're just reviewing their feelings or something. It might be different than with selecting an architect.
The one thing, though, and this is not something that we need to decide and talk about today, but once Gordon gets back, we'll have him kind of work with you, is that,
We just don't meet again, Mike. I mean, it's too late if we don't talk about it. Whatever you're gonna need from us, you want now. Because we
well,
only meet once a month.
I understand, but we can meet with the committee, because what I was gonna talk about is the questions that you want to ask. Because my understanding is there are some certain things that's important, and why, what you're looking for in this project manager. Sounding like some of the things were, basically the ability to independently review schedules and budgets. There were so things like that that the committee was looking for. So, questions and how you're, looking at the proposal should kind of be geared towards that, because I don't know that some of those things will necessarily come out as part of the proposal, because it wasn't specific, everything like that wasn't specifically laid out purposely in the RFP. So, developing those questions for the interview to me is going to be really important to make sure that, you folks make sure that they have the capabilities and skills that you're looking for in this project manager.
So
You better be asking the same questions for everybody, not just coming at us in different directions.
That's right.
When is it? July 12th? Okay, so here's the big question is, does this, I'm gonna call you guys a subcommittee because it's kind of a partial, you're a standing in, okay, so it's the same subcommittee, project management subcommittee, you're filling for me. That's great. Are we gonna delegate this to them? Or are they gonna come back?
Delegate to who? To,
Staff is good, they're gonna run the process, they're gonna interview people. Staff then focused on a recommendation, is it to council or to us? Do they have to run it through us on July 12th? I think that was the thought, but are you guys, by that point, have you guys developed a subcommittee recommendation? So you're telling the rest of us, look, we're fine with what staff's saying and we should just approve it. So staff is really preparing the next report, because it's only 4 days later, and that's really tight.
Well, isn't the process one that whatever names will be interviewed on that Friday, and you all will have your matrix, and at the end you'll have a first, probably from the matrix and some discussion, you'll have a first choice and a second choice and a third choice. And from that can be essentially your report that will go to the CCAC on July 12th. And from that, the staff's going to write the staff recommendation to the council anyway.
Does that give you enough time for
Is that right?
council?
Well,
The council report's due on the 9th.
That,
The only caveat to that is that in order to make all this work, is that so we're interviewing on the 26th, on the 27th, we need to start negotiations with the top rank guard in order to have all that done, so that we can, by the next week, mid next week before the 4th, have something for the city attorney to start reviewing.
yeah, makes sense. Okay, this time.
Well, there's no way you can get to the council and do anything, I mean, they're just going to get whoever's negotiated with.
Right.
They'll get the top one as a recommendation.
And so the question is, how much can we delegate to this subcommittee and how much has to come back to us? That's to me, the underlying question is,
We don't have any time, there's no time. So the subcommittee's going to make the choice with Gordon there.
that's what I think.
And then
I think
on
it's,
July 12th, you can talk about,
Actually, July 14th.
I'm sorry,
I
July,
think it's, Phil and Rose are standing in
and
for the
you'll
rest
have
of
your
it.
staff report already done, so it'll just be a report to the CCAC on the 14th.
Yeah.
There's no other way to do that.
But I think we're gonna need to take a vote to say that's okay with us. I think that's the right answer. I think they know what they're doing. I think it's more of a staff hire than a CCAC hire.
We'll vote just not in advance because it's not action.
Yeah, but what we're doing is we're delegating that authority. We're saying we don't have to approve selection of the project manager. We have a sense of how the committee feels about that.
I think it's,
Paul, how would you, yeah, Phil, you're comfortable? I think that in the skill sets of the people who are on that subcommittee are perfectly satisfactory and,
yes.
okay. So that's how we're gonna do it.
There's 10, the RFP asked for 10 hard copy proposals and one digital.
Okay.
So just to clarify on the process, the subcommittee, essentially, I might be simplifying it too much, is essentially recommending to staff, and staff's kind of doing the hiring.
Staff is gonna tell, subcommittees, Phil is gonna come up with his matrix that he likes. He'll probably work with Gordon or Mike to do it, so that it makes sense for everybody. And then they'll do their little scoring, and then they'll huddle, and they'll say, here's what we think, and Mike and Gordon and George will say, here's what we think if it's aligned, hopefully in the top 1, 2, 3, or top 2. They'll say, we were blessing you, go ahead and negotiate with that party and prepare your council report. That's how I see it working. If it doesn't align, it'll come back. If they're like, we totally disagree with staff,
And
then it has to come back here on July 12th.
I remember Gordon saying he preferred, if possible, to have at least two firms that he liked, and the primary and then the
Yeah,
backup.
always a backup.
Sure.
And would that, the timing that you've outlined, would that give us enough time if the first set of negotiations don't work?
You know what, I think if the first set of negotiations doesn't work, I think we're gonna be very hard pressed to make the July 16th date.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the questions you're gonna be interviewing for in their references is, how are they in their contract negotiation, right? Right, that'll be on your matrix, that'll be one of the things you look for.
This is a very important step, and if it's not, if it's not done right, we're gonna pay for it later. So my only piece of advice is if it doesn't feel good, don't rush it,
Right.
right into the August meeting.
I would agree with that 100%.
Or a special meeting in the meantime, you know.
Whatever.
Yeah, don't
whatever
force it
works.
too hard into the box.
Because it's too big a decision.
Good, okay.
Okay.
Does that feel clear?
Yeah, so so as far as putting together the matrix, then, that's something that you
Oh,
know.
I know. With the board as well.
Okay, and that'll be basically sort of looking at how we told the bidders, how we evaluated them.
And
Similar to
Phil-
what you did.
Clyde was
Before
deeply
the-
involved in the RFP, so you might want to do it early with him. So he was deeply involved with drafting that thing.
Yeah, so if you want to shoot it by me, that's fine, otherwise, I mean, what you did last time was great, so, yeah.
Well, you should be able to, with a subcommittee, be able to do that on, email without any problem, so.
It's not that hard to do. It's
Yeah.
pretty easy.
All right.
Great. So we're done with A and B. And anticipated schedule, maybe you can take us through that.
The schedule was included in the staff report. And, I guess the only thing there is that, what I think is really on the critical path here is getting, well, one of the things on the critical path is getting the design architect selected and hired. Is that correct?
Correct.
Definitely.
So then, all this is built upon the project manager, whoever that person or firm is being approved by the council on July 16th. If that doesn't happen, then the schedule shifts back a bit. And the reason for that is because it's my understanding that the committee really wanted the project manager to be very involved in the development of the design architect RFP. And that will not happen until whoever is selected is actually under contract with the town.
That's correct. So the one to jump over is line 7, which is confusing because there's a bunch of 7, 15 things. But right now, we're down at about line 26. We're down at line 22.
Mhm.
Going to 23 and 24, heading for 25. And then the next big thing is the 26 is the architect RFP. So that,
And again, all of these are very important. Hiring an architect is
huge. That's probably the most
So-
important thing we're gonna do.
It's all got to be done right. If the timing is good and we can get it done, fine. If it slips a little, it's going to be better if it's.
Yeah.
The right time.
So what I want to see here is just, I'd love everybody to sort of test in their mind, does it feel right? But the big question is, when do we have our first round of conceptual drawings? I mean, all the intervals, we have to feel if they're right, and they're so small, I think everyone's going to come back later.
Council approval of conceptual, when do they,
Conceptual drawing is, it's done in April. That's what feels awful. 4 months feels like a long time to me.
Well, I would,
conceptual design here is.
Or 90 days with the holiday.
Architectural programming is supposed to be
December.
done by December's council meeting.
And that's all all that is paperwork.
Right.
Yeah.
But from that, some kind of.
Well, I mean, the product is paperwork, right? It's,
Yep.
it's
So
square
that's-
footages and
So
desks.
that's where the discussion, we'll all be waiting for square footage.
Yeah.
That's where it all comes in. right?
Yeah, it needs that time.
Yeah, so in some ways.
But I'm just looking at, I'm thinking for people who might be fundraising.
Right.
Nothing's, it's Easter.
somewhere between 34 and 35 is your community input in the design
Oh,
process.
that's your problem.
Yes, somewhere in the number 35, that's right. That's where, there's gonna be some outreach in there.
Input for money.
No, but back to this committee, for CCAC, there will be we'll go back out to town.
Yeah, well, we have to.
We'll have a thing in Old Brook Palmer, and we'll say, here it is, and how do you feel about the look, and should we change it?
And that might impact 37 in terms of how long that process.
Yeah, the
How many
conception,
iterations take
it could
and-
be, no, we hate the thing, change it, so.
Right.
And, you know, and what we're calling, what is being referred to as conceptual design here, I'm assuming what the thought was to get to the schematic design phase. I mean, these kind of projects, typically you have schematic, design development, final. And the schematic, that's about that 40% design where everything's laid out, everything's defined as far as position, because remember, this is a whole civic center master plan, so there's gonna be multiple buildings, rearranging of roads, so there's actually a fair amount of detail. So all that, you know, will be done as part of the schematic, and that, to me, is gonna be the important part, because once you approve that, then you can get into production drawings. That's going from the schematic to the design development to the final design. But, you know, you don't want to get into, you know, have them start going 100 miles an hour with you know, the design drawings until you feel comfortable with that schematic.
Well, and we're gonna wanna get some bidding. I think we're gonna want bidding after the conceptuals. I mean, at least that's estimating from the PM, yeah.
Yes, they can definitely, at that point, you know, they'll be able to put together, you know, some cost estimates. But realizing that at 40%, they're gonna carry a higher contingency than at the, you know, 80%, but you would
But lower
definitely.
than that.
Pardon?
But lower contingency than we have now.
Yes, lower.
And they'll probably do it through, part of the PM job is that they have cost estimating in-house. And so do you think they'd be, my hope they'd be doing that the whole conceptual design phase. They do it, I don't know if it's every month, but it's every kind of rounded plan. The one,
They're actually providing advice to the design architects, right?
So we have reasonable.
yeah, so we don't just suddenly go, oh my God, how do you do that? The one that was, I'm wondering if it's long enough, is number 28, architects prepare proposals. It's roughly 3 weeks over Labor Day. And what I'm wondering is, a part of the RFP will be for them to comment on our master plan and to talk about an architectural style, I think. I think we're gonna want some real meat on the bones. And I wonder if I think we'll get more traction this time than last time with more architects, because this is a real job now. This isn't a design competition or a, what do you think, we might do a project. This is a project that's been approved by council, let's go do it, subject to funding. But I just wonder if 18 days is enough, and might be when you test on a few people.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I would say that 18 days is not enough, that you'd want to give them at least a month.
That's what I would have guessed, yeah.
A month would be, I think a month would be adequate.
Yeah.
So already we're adjusting the schedule.
No, that's what, but we're starting a schedule. And like you said, we want to do it right.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing, we're in a different hat, which is we're trying to think about fundraising and what do you go out with between now and
That's,
April? Okay.
Well, and we'll, you know, the board will go and review this based on your comments, but.
And the PM will get deeply involved.
Yes, but Dee, and just because we, allow it a month doesn't necessarily, because for instance, we extended the project manager arc for 2 weeks, but we didn't move one of those things. And that's the big part, that's the reason.
I think we're all looking forward to the further development of this, and if anyone has detailed comments, do we send them to you, Mike, or do we send them to Teresa with the?
No, just go ahead and send it to me and I'll make sure that we need it.
Okay, great. Any further discussion on the schedule?
Anything that we talked about last time as being important was the environmental consultant. Does that need to be in here?
I thought it was, I think it's up there.
There is a
The approval of the EIR is in here.
There's environmental assessment, oh, it'd be the actual consultant.
Yeah.
Approve environmental assessment.
Number 20.
It's number 20.
April 16th.
Number 4 was the RFP for it, and 20 is
Yeah.
Five was the final.
select environmental consultant, there you go, which is supposed, it's happening in the next 2 weeks. By next week.
No, it's July.
Okay.
I don't know when the deadline for the RFPs were, but at least it's 1 month.
I think I voluntarily volunteered to be part of that.
Say it again. Oh, I didn't read that.
That's a fun one.
I didn't think we were. The
She asked for
environmental,
somebody.
what's that?
She asked for somebody from the committee.
Oh, she did?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So if,
Do we have a volunteer?
I was the volunteer. I think I
So you're not
got volunteers.
unvolunteered?
Okay.
I volunteered because I was being stared at. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, great.
So if you need anything, you know, that might let me know.
Yeah, okay, great. And as a side note, what's going to become more and more, the thing we're going to spend more time thinking about is fleshing out, on design, we clearly know what our role is, the CCAC. Our job is to make sure that the design that gets presented to council is one that we're happy with, we're comfortable with. On administration, it's more, we're going to have to find our way with staff to say what makes sense and what are we comfortable with and what is expeditious to getting the project done, so we're not saddling them with an every month thing for things that they shouldn't get saddled with. So that's going to be touchy-feely, I think, that just carefully find our way through to help staff keep moving unless we don't feel comfortable with something. So, right. All right, so we're going to move on to number 5. Now we can talk about the architect selection process, I guess, officially. Is there anything further, Mike, we should talk about on that?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Ad hoc committee reports.
Oh, excuse, are we,
Yes.
that was the architect? I have a question.
Yes.
I saw cost mentioned. We're still thinking of October to November that we need money to start paying the architect.
Well, we have the 2.1 or so million in the
Uh-huh.
building facilities fund, and then, of course, the library share. So I think there's enough to get that process started, possibly at least through the schematic design process.
Really? Okay, so that gives us a little more time than I
Right.
thought we had. Okay, thank you.
And that's what staff was planning on doing, is basically having an architect selected and negotiating a contract all the way through final design, but only authorizing a phase that we went for. And,
We have some money, so,
Yeah.
right, we can do that. I'm not-
it seems like the money that's there should get us through the schematic.
Well, if we're lucky in the fall, then maybe,
That includes conceptual.
we may have.
Oh, so we got a long time
commitments,
before
so
we need
you'll know that you
parking
can do
later.
it.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I mean, I say a long time, it's not before next April when we have conceptuals to go raise money. When the
Yeah, but
fundraising.
I would think that you wanted to have more firm handle on how much funding you're gonna get.
Yeah.
By like probably January, February. That will then allow, the council to approve the schematic and then move, directly into final design.
Yeah, I think
But the
that-
schematic is later than that, and then when is schematics
Well,
coming?
Schematic, I'm calling schematic conceptual.
You mean